Welcome back everyone. Today we are looking at some early Theorycrafting guide for Rin and Orchid in the upcoming Trial by Frost meta, releasing on the 31st of January. This deck will be a very aggressive deck where we want to win as much as possible in the forest region type. We will try to manipulate these types, anchoring our high forest characters, drawing cards and rin and repeat. First, let's look at our hero. Rin will draw you a card when one of your expeditions move forward due to winning with the forest statistic. After drawing, also put a card back from your hand in reserve. We try to make use of this mechanic by putting cards in reserve with good support abilities or cards that are better from reserve than be played for a hand. If you are winning both lanes to forest, then you can activate this ability twice, drawing a card, put a card in reserve and then again. You still need to clean your reserve to only 2 cards at the night phase, so be wary of not overflowing your reserve. Persephone, the rare one. This card makes sure we are on forest and we are like winning there as well. This makes us trigger winner ability more frequently. Normally only 5 out of 8 are forest, but with this card everything can be turned into forest. As Trial by Frost has multiple cards with the same ability, we only run this one. We don't need the effect more than once a turn and not every turn. Play this card last to surprise your opponent and win the lane on forest. As the start of the game already has forest, this card is not as good as you are most likely to win on that lane anyway. The rare daughter of Yggdrasil. This card is everything we want. It gets us a card, it has high forest stat and is a 3 mana cost, so we can anchor it. Sure, your opponent also gets a card, but that's a small payoff. From reserve it doesn't give away some cards, so that's even more reason to play it. Turn 1, there are not a lot of cards, maybe none, that win from her in forest, getting us activation with Rin at the start and getting that card advantage from the get-go. Then our next card is Coppelia, a 2 mana 3 forest stat that can be played for free by put into the reserve from your hand. This happens even with Rin's her ability, resulting in an already good start in the next turn. Very aggressive card in this deck. It does not have water, but normally that doesn't matter. Then we will continue with our anchor package. The first is the rare Mowgli. He is a cheap card with a high forest stat and its support ability to anchor target character is very welcome. As it's an aggressive deck, we want to stay on board to maximize pressure. That's a support ability comes in quite nice. As this is an aggressive deck, we want to stay on board to maximize pressure. That's why the support ability is so good. With Rin's ability to put a card in reserve, it makes it easy for us to trigger support abilities. If you don't want to use him for its support ability, it is still a 1 mana 3 forest stat from reserve, which is fine by itself, and a really good play, acting as a pseudo after you. Muna Druid and the Muna Caregiver. Both in the common version are here for the same reason as Mowgli. The Druid is a decent body with a high forest stat, with the anchor support ability, and the Caregiver is here solely for putting her into reserve to anchor something else. And lastly, we have the Kodama. As we are tight on rares, I only run 2 rare ones and 1 common one. The rare has the anchor support ability the common does not have. Kodama is a cheap body that again with Rin's ability can put in reserve to negate the from hand sleep effect. The deck almost only runs 3 cost or lower from hand, so it's not too hard to anchor a character with one of our 11 anchor support abilities. Try to make the most out of it. Then we have the Mighty Simbi, the only character that cannot be anchored. With it, try to win an expedition in forest to sacrifice yourself afterwards and draw a card. You preferably want to do this if she already has fleeting, as you don't miss much out of the card advantage. With Rin's ability, you can put it to reserve and get a 3 mana 4/4, which can be good as well. If you are not drawing what you want, you can choose to sacrifice after playing from hand and winning in forest, as you will dig deeper into your deck. The Muna Merchant is the last character we run in the deck, and this card will be replaced by my uniques. But it has a high forest stat and a resupply from reserve, which can easily be triggered by putting it in reserve by Rin. It is not great, but it's good enough to fill in the unique slots if you don't have any uniques yet. Then let's look at our spells. I only played 2, Beauty Sleep and Lost in the Woods. Beauty Sleep has proven itself in the previous meta and can be your game winner card. 1 mana sleeper target is very good to close out the game. The new spell Lost in the Woods is here to discard pesky permanents, which will probably be plenty of in the upcoming meta. And the other mode you can choose is Send to Reserve target character in the forest stat. As we try to win a forest only, this card will be very helpful to remove opponent characters in the forest expeditions to make sure we will win that region type. Note that if you play Persephone, this card will always be active. Lastly, we also got 3 expedition permanents in the deck. These type of permanents can be played in your own expedition and will be there as long as you don't win the expedition. As soon as you win, they will go to reserve like characters and can be played with fleeting from reserve. Note that winning an expedition with one of these permanents might overflow your reserve, so be wary of this when you are playing them. Magic Beans will boost one of your characters and will add forest to the region type. As we are having a lot of high forest stat creatures, this is exactly what we want. Winning in these expeditions type will not be hard and let us trigger Rin's ability. Floral Tent is here to protect our anchored characters from removal. As one of our main focuses is anchoring characters, it will be a waste to see our cards be removed, losing us that card advantage. Floral Tent will make sure that if the characters in its expedition will be removed, it will lose anchor instead. This means that a character needs to be removed twice to get it away from the expedition zone. On top of the protection, it also lets you resupply, hopefully getting one of those anchored support abilities in reserve to make use of the tent. Our last card is some pretty clothes, winter outfits. If you don't draw one of your forest creators or you are not in forest, this deck can be a little weak on the stat side. This card makes sure that your characters will change to the highest out of mountain, water and forest, meaning your Coppelia will change from a 3/3/0 to a 3/3/3 and your Daughter of Yggdrasil will have 5 in water as well. You can play this card as a surprise at last at your turn, or maybe as a cheap after you to see what your opponent is doing. For uniques, I will put out my Kodama common and both Muna merchants, as these commons are just filler cards for a deck that I use without uniques. I will look for high forest stat characters that preferably have one or more effects shown on the screen. Like anchor effects, there are some very good, powerful uniques that anchor multiple characters in turn. These are highly sought after and are very good for this deck type as well. Also, we are trying to win due to forest statistic nearly every round, so having some unique cards with this effect, winning by forest, and also a benefit like drawing a card or anchor another character will be certainly a good pick. Lastly, uniques that let us draw at dusk, preferably 3 costs or lower with good forest stats, are also very desired. Otherwise, cards that let you draw or resupply when played can also be very good. Look as well for uniques that have the anchored support ability. After being played from hand, they go to reserve and you still can support another character with their anchored ability. Thanks for watching this Rin Orchid deck guide. If you like this content, please let me know by commenting on this video or put a like or subscribe to help out my channel. Trial of Frost is almost here and I'm looking forward to play some of these lesser played heroes in the upcoming meta. My next video I'm planning is a Go Rank deck guide, so stay tuned if you want to know what I will be playing in my upcoming days. Until next time, I'm the Bravos Hatter and hope to see you soon.